Captain Alina Voss leaned over the bridge console of the Aurora's Edge, her eyes scanning the swirling clouds of purple gas and metallic debris surrounding Zolaris Prime. Outside, the stars shimmered faintly through the planet's atmosphere, a reminder of how small any single ship or even a single species was in the vastness of the universe. Around her, the fleet of the Intergalactic Alliance drifted in tense formation. Ships of every shape and size hovered like silent sentinels. Yet despite their power, unease rippled through the alien crews. The Krillians, tall crystalline beings, shimmered nervously, their faceted faces reflecting the bridge lights. Gas-like Aperians floated nearby, constantly shifting shape, whispering, in patterns humans could barely comprehend. The armored Xanther muttered in low metallic tones, pacing the bridge, every movement vibrating with contained aggression. All eyes occasionally flicked toward the human captain. They had doubts, deep doubts. Humans were small, fragile, and inexperienced in interstellar combat. That was the opinion shared quietly among the alien commanders, though no one said it aloud in Elena's presence. Elena did not flinch. Her jaw tightened, her mind already running through every possibility. She knew humans had a reputation for unpredictability, for improvisation, and for daring acts no other species would attempt. And that reputation, she thought, might be the one thing that could save the Alliance. A soft chime sounded on her console. Lieutenant Arjun Patel, her communications officer, swiveled in his chair. "Captain, sensors are picking up something. Massive. Multiple vessels. Not just ships. It's a swarm. Moving with astonishing speed and coordination." Alina straightened. Her heart pounded not from fear, but from the thrill of the challenge. Humans thrived on the impossible. "Show me," she said. On the main display, the Draxian fleet appeared. Dark, jagged, and metallic, the ships moved like a single organism. Each vessel pulsated with energy, and as they drew closer, the space around them seemed to warp. This was not a fleet that attacked in lines or patterns familiar to Alliance strategy. This was chaos made lethal, a storm with a mind of its own. Slith, a Krillian tactical officer, whispered, trembling, "They are here. Every species that has faced them has disappeared." Elena's gaze did not waver. "Then we won't be like the others," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. Her voice carried determination, the quiet kind that spread to those around her. Humans had survived worse than annihilation, natural disasters, wars, hunger, and disease. Humans had a stubborn heart, and in that heart lay courage no weapon could measure. The first volleys of energy fired from the Draxian fleet. Explosions blossomed in the void like deadly flowers, tearing through the outer Alliance ships. Panic began to ripple through the alien crews. Vrex, the Xanther commander, bellowed, "Retreat! Retreat now, before they engulf us all." Alina shook her head. "No," she said, firm. "We adapt. We fight smarter, not harder." The humans' role in the fleet had been underestimated from the start. The alien commanders had given them scouting and diversion duties, expecting nothing more. Yet humans thrived in adversity. Alina had a plan, one no one else could see fully, because humans did not fight like anyone else. They thought outside algorithms. They gambled. They improvised. Captain Arjun said, a hint of worry in his voice, "We could attempt to evade. Just pull back to the outer perimeter." Alina shook her head. "No, we're going to engage. We're going inside." The swarm. Her words were crisp, yet carried the weight of conviction. The Aurora's Edge shuddered as engines roared. Shields flared in response to the first Draxian strikes, and the ship leaped forward into the storm of enemy vessels. The Draxians reacted with almost mechanical precision, attempting to surround the human ship, but Alina was not predictable. She twisted and weaved through impossible gaps, darting past the massive cruisers that dwarfed her own ship. Every movement was calculated to exploit a blind spot, a weakness in the Draxian coordination. The humans' unpredictability became their weapon. From the bridge of a nearby Krillian cruiser, Slith could only stare, disbelief etched into every shimmering facet of his face. How is a human ship doing this? He whispered to no one in particular. Elena's voice cut through the tension, calm and resolute. We adapt because we must. We survive because we refuse to fail. That is what humans do. The human ship's daring maneuvers bought precious time. Alliance ships regrouped, reforming a defensive perimeter. The swarm hesitated, confused by the unpredictability of a species it could not calculate. This hesitation, small as it seemed, was enough to give the Alliance a fighting chance. As the battle raged, Elena allowed herself a small, fleeting smile. The odds were impossible. The Draxians had numbers, power, and fearsome weapons. But humans had something else, a mind that could see possibilities, a heart that refused surrender, and the courage to gamble when all seemed lost. Outside the viewport, Solaris Prime glowed ominously, its jagged mountains casting long shadows over neon-green oceans. Space was alive with fire and energy, but inside the Aurora's edge, Elena felt a surge of pride. Humans were underestimated. They always were, and time and again, they had proven the galaxy wrong. Hold on, Elena murmured, gripping the console. They may have the numbers, but we have the plan. And in that moment, as the swarm closed in and chaos raged around them, the humans, small, fragile, and defiant, prepared to show the universe exactly why they could not be ignored. The Aurora's edge sliced through the swirling void of Xylaris Prime's orbit like a dart. Captain Elena Voss's hands moved across the console with practiced precision, guiding her small ship into the heart of the Draxian swarm. Explosions flickered around them, massive cruisers torn apart in sudden bursts of light, fragments spinning in the weightless dark. The humans were tiny targets, and yet, somehow, they were surviving. Captain, our shields are under strain. Lieutenant Arjun Patel shouted, sweat beading on his brow. They're concentrating fire on us. Elena's gaze did not leave the holographic display. Then we make them miscalculate. Keep scanning for gaps. I want their formation broken in the next 2 minutes. Arjun swallowed, trying to match her calm. But how? They're overwhelming. Every angle is covered. Elena's lips curved into a tight smile. Because we don't fight like they expect. We fight differently. Across the bridge, the alien officers were silent, watching in awe and disbelief. The Xanther commander, Vrex, clenched his claws around the railing. They are reckless, he growled, but there was awe in his metallic voice. And yet, they survive. The humans' plan was simple in theory, but dangerous in execution. They would divide and confuse the enemy, using small, agile ships to lure the Draxians into pockets of empty space and asteroid clusters. Each move relied on timing, intuition, and unpredictability, the very qualities the Draxians could not anticipate. Elena signaled to Mika Torres, the chief engineer, deploy the drones. A swarm of tiny human drones shot out of the Aurora's edge, blinking like stars against the dark void. Each one carried electromagnetic disruptors, designed to jam the Draxian sensors. The moment the swarm moved, the Draxian ships flinched, their previously perfect coordination faltering. Captain, they're reacting, Arjun said, astonished. It's working. Elena's eyes sparkled with quiet satisfaction. Yes, but this is only the beginning. From the bridge of a nearby Krillian cruiser, Slith leaned forward. His crystalline face glimmered with disbelief. Humans. They are using strategy, not brute force. Not overwhelming firepower. Strategy. Elena maneuvered the Aurora's edge with breathtaking precision, weaving between Draxian vessels. Sometimes slipping through gaps no alien ship could navigate. Her heart raced, but she remained calm. Fear was a luxury humans could not afford. They relied on focus, on cleverness, on thinking 3 steps ahead of an opponent that believed it could predict every move. The Draxians, confident and mechanical in their logic, began to split their swarm. Some pursued the human ship, while others attempted to regroup around their massive flagship. This was exactly what Alina had counted on. "Now, Arjun," she said, "hit the flank." Arjun pressed a series of commands, launching human fighters in a daring arc through a cluster of jagged asteroids. The Draxians followed, unthinking, and the narrow space trapped them. Collisions erupted. Explosions lit the void like fireworks, and the echo of metal tearing filled the silence of space. "Look at them," Slith whispered, unable to hide his astonishment. "They're turning our strategies upside down." Alina gritted her teeth. Humans survive by turning weakness into advantage. Remember that. As the battle continued, the human fleet demonstrated what other species often overlooked: adaptability. When a Draxian cruiser attempted a flanking maneuver, a human pilot named Leela Horn anticipated it, her ship darting into a blind spot and disabling the cruiser's engines with a precision strike. "Leela, report." Lena called over comms. "Engines down, Captain. They're spinning out of control." Leela's voice trembled, part fear, part exhilaration. Alina allowed herself a brief smile. Every human in the fleet understood the stakes, yet none faltered. They trusted each other, and in that trust lay strength the Draxians could not calculate. Meanwhile, Mika Torres worked feverishly on the engineering deck. "Captain, we can boost the drone's signal. It could disrupt a larger section of the swarm." "Do it," Alina replied without hesitation. The battle over Zalaris Prime had slowed, but tension in the Alliance fleet was far from over. Captain Alina Voss sat in the command chair of the Aurora's Edge, her eyes fixed on the display. The Draxian swarm had been pushed back at least, temporarily, but something felt wrong. The calm after chaos was never truly calm. It was a warning, a pause before the next storm. Lieutenant Arjun Patel leaned over her console, brows furrowed. "Captain, I'm picking up anomalies in our navigation grid. Several of the cruisers can't plot stable courses. It's like someone tampered with them." Elena's jaw tightened. "Show me." The holographic map revealed a subtle but alarming pattern. Critical navigation systems across multiple Alliance ships had been disrupted. If the fleet tried to jump out of orbit in their current state, they would drift into asteroid fields or Draxian traps. "Sabotage," Mika Torres muttered from the engineering deck, her hands flying across the controls. "Someone's trying to get us killed before the next wave even begins." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Inside the fleet." "That's impossible." Arjun shook his head slowly. "It's possible. I think it's the appearance of faction that doesn't trust humans. They want to make us look weak." The revelation sent a shiver through the bridge. Humans had survived countless dangers, but this betrayal from those meant to be allies was a threat of a different kind. The aliens had always underestimated them, mocked them, and sometimes ignored them entirely. But sabotage, that was an insult to human skill, courage, and honor. Alina drew in a steady breath. "Then we survive. We adapt. We outsmart them. As always." Her voice was calm, but there was steel beneath the surface. Humans thrived in situations where the odds were stacked against them. Where others saw impossible danger, humans saw possibility. She immediately began reorganizing the fleet. Small human teams were dispatched to inspect every ship with disrupted systems. Mika worked frantically to isolate and repair the tampered navigation cores. Arjun monitored communication lines, tracing subtle signals that revealed the hidden traitors. As the hours passed, tension crackled like static in the air. The Empyrean faction's sabotage was subtle, clever, and insidious. They had hidden their interference deep within the Alliance's software, hoping no one would notice, until it was too late. "Captain," Mika said, after long minutes of scanning, "we've isolated the sabotage. We can repair it, but it'll take time." Elena's lips pressed together in thought. Time is a luxury we don't have. We can't wait for the fleet to stabilize on its own. We need a plan that works now. She turned to Arjun. Get me a list of all ships affected. Prioritize repairs and reroute unaffected ships to shield them. Use our small fleet as a buffer. If the Draxians attack before repairs are complete, we'll still have an opening to maneuver. Arjun's hands flew across his console. It's audacious, but it just might work. Alina allowed herself a brief nod. Humans didn't win because they had the most powerful weapons. Humans won because they adapted faster, thought differently, and never gave up. Across the bridge, the alien officers exchanged anxious glances. Vrex, the Xanther commander, muttered, I have never seen a species operate so calmly under such pressure. They are remarkable. Slith, the Krillian, tilted his crystalline head, and frightening. They can turn any danger into advantage. I do not understand them, but they lead. Ours turned into a tense ballet of strategy and repair. Small human strike teams darted between ships, rewiring, patching, and improvising solutions in ways the aliens never thought possible. Each action was precise, efficient, and daring. Alina watched the display, her mind calculating every move. We can't just fix this, she said quietly. We have to make them believe it was never broken. We'll turn their sabotage into a tactical advantage. Her plan was audacious. Instead of hiding the repairs, the humans would bait the Alperian faction into revealing themselves. They would act as if nothing was wrong, letting the saboteurs attempt to strike again, then trap them, cut off their systems, and reclaim control of the fleet. Arjun's eyes widened. You're going to use their own sabotage against them. Alina smiled, faint but confident. Yes, humans always find a way when others see only obstacles. As the plan unfolded, the saboteurs attempted another subtle disruption, targeting the very ships Alina had marked. But it was too late. Human engineers anticipated their moves, cutting off the interference and locking the Alperian faction out of critical systems. The saboteurs were exposed. The fleet held its breath as the humans took control, and for the first time, the Alliance officers saw something undeniable. Humans were not just survivors. They were leaders. Vrex growled low in his throat. I underestimated them. They are extraordinary. Alina allowed herself a small, fleeting moment of pride. Betrayal, sabotage, chaos, none of it mattered. Humans had adapted. Humans had turned danger into strategy. And the fleet, inspired by their courage and clarity, rallied behind them. From the corner of the bridge, Slith whispered, almost to himself, they are unpredictable and unstoppable. Elena's gaze returned to Zalaris Prime. The Draxian would strike again. The battle was far from over. But humans had survived the shadows among allies, proving that even in a universe filled with deceit and danger, their ingenuity and heart could turn the tide. And in the quiet moments, when she allowed herself to breathe, Alina felt the truth at her core. Humans were underestimated not because they were weak, but because their greatest strengths, their courage, their adaptability, their stubborn refusal to quit could never be measured by any algorithm or weapon. The storm of the Draxians loomed ahead, dark and relentless. But the humans were ready. The surface of Zalaris Prime glowed with an alien beauty that made the human crew of the Aurora's Edge pause, even in the midst of war. Jagged mountains of black obsidian rose sharply from the neon-green oceans, their peaks cutting into the low-hanging violet clouds. Strange, phosphorescent plants clung to cliff faces, swaying in invisible winds, and rivers of molten crystal snaked down into valleys that seemed bottomless. It was a world that seemed impossible to survive and yet it was here that the Draxians had chosen to build their ultimate weapon. Captain Elena Voss stood on the observation deck, gazing down at the chaos below. The Draxians' construction was massive, a gigantic energy siphon, glowing faintly blue, its arms extending across the landscape like a spider's web. It pulsed with dangerous energy, drawing power from the planet itself. If completed, it could drain entire star systems, leaving countless worlds lifeless. We can't let them finish it, Alina said quietly, her voice carrying a mixture of determination and fear. Not now, not ever. Lieutenant Arjun Patel, scanning the holographic overlay of the siphon, swallowed hard. Captain, the defenses, they're immense. Hundreds of automated turrets, drones, and force fields. Any frontal assault would be suicide. Elena's jaw tightened. Then we don't attack frontal. Humans never fight by doing what's expected. We find another way. From the engineering deck, Mika Torres's voice crackled over comms. Captain, I can modify the drones. If we overload their sensors, even for a few seconds, it might give our small teams a window. Do it, Alina replied firmly. Every second counts. The human fleet descended into the planet's upper atmosphere, weaving between jagged cliffs and massive crystal towers. Draxian drones swarmed like angry insects, their weapons lighting up the sky with pulses of red energy. The Alliance fleet stayed in orbit, providing cover fire, but it was the humans who led the charge. Small, agile ships darted through the chaos, avoiding fire and using terrain to their advantage. Elena's ship moved like a predator among the jagged peaks. She guided her pilots with calm precision, calling out paths, identifying weaknesses, and predicting enemy movements. Each ship in her fleet mirrored her courage, trusting her instinct even when the odds seemed impossible. Captain, Arjun said, pointing to a canyon beneath them. There's a narrow passage that leads directly behind the siphon's main control tower. It's tight, but if we can get a small strike team through, we might reach the core. Elena's eyes lit up. That's our route. Leela, take your squad and follow that path. Arjun, you cover their approach from above. Mika, prep the drones for a full sensor overload when they're in position. The humans executed the plan with precision that stunned their alien allies. Lila Horn and her strike team navigated the narrow canyon, weaving through falling debris and dodging automated turrets. Each step was tense, each heartbeat measured. The ground seemed alive, pulsing with the siphon's energy. But the humans pressed forward, their courage stronger than fear. Above, Alina coordinated the drone attack. Hundreds of tiny machines swarmed the Draxian defenses, overloading sensors and blinding automated systems. Red flashes of Draxian fire missed entirely, striking empty space or harmless rocks. The humans were ghosts, impossible to predict, moving with a combination of daring and intelligence that no enemy weapon could anticipate. Finally, Leela's team reached the siphon's core chamber. The energy field surrounding it pulsed violently, threatening to fry any unshielded electronics. Mika guided them remotely. Sync the overload with the pulse. You have 15 seconds to get inside. The team nodded, hearts pounding. They activated a series of human-engineered devices designed to disrupt the siphon's energy flow. Sparks flew, and for a moment, it seemed like the machine. The battle over Zaloris Prime raged across sky and space. Jagged mountains cut into the violet clouds, and the neon-green oceans reflected flashes of Draxian energy fire. The Aurora's edge darted among the peaks, weaving between enemy fire and fallen debris. Captain Alina Voss gripped the control console, her eyes fixed on the swirling Draxian fleet. Their numbers were overwhelming, but the humans had a weapon the Draxians could not calculate: unpredictable thinking. Lieutenant Arjun Patel's voice trembled over the comms. Captain, they're regrouping. They're trying to flank the fleet. From both sides. Elena's jaw tightened. Let them try, she said, calm but fierce. We've been underestimated before. That's always our advantage. Across the fleet, the alien officers exchanged worried glances. The Draxians had destroyed every other species they met. Yet here, humans were not only surviving, they were leading Vrex. The Xanther commander growled softly. They are reckless, and yet brilliant. Alina signaled the small human squadron to execute a daring maneuver. Tiny ships darted through asteroid clusters and narrow canyons, drawing the Draxian forces away from the Alliance's main line. Each human pilot moved with precision, weaving through danger in ways no alien algorithm could predict. "Captain, their left flank is exposed," Arjun shouted. Alina smiled, a spark of triumph in her eyes. "Then that's where we strike. Full force, but carefully. We don't just attack, we manipulate." Lila Horn led the first strike team, cutting through Draxian drones with precision. Bursts of laser fire. The enemy ships swerved and collided, their previously perfect formations breaking apart. Even the massive Draxian cruisers struggled to respond. From orbit, Slith watched in awe. "Humans, they are turning chaos into a weapon," he whispered. Alina directed her own ship into the thick of the swarm. She weaved between the largest Draxian vessels, dodging energy blasts, her heart steady, despite the danger. Every movement was calculated, yet unpredictably contradiction the Draxians could not resolve. "Captain, they're focusing fire on you," Arjun yelled. "Good," Alina said, her voice steady. "They'll overextend. That's when we strike." The human plan worked flawlessly. The Draxian fleet, blinded by the humans' agility and cunning, began to overcommit to attacks. Ships collided with each other, automated defenses misfired, and the once feared swarm lost cohesion. Every human move created openings that Alliance ships exploited with newfound confidence. Even the aliens who had doubted and betrayed them earlier began to follow Alina's lead, realizing that human ingenuity could turn the tide where brute force could not. Mika Torres's drones buzzed across the battlefield, sending waves of interference through Draxian sensors. Enemy ships spun out of control, unable to react to the humans' unpredictable tactics. "It's working," Mika shouted, excitement mixed with fear. "Their systems are overloaded." Alina's eyes glimmered with determination. "Keep pushing. Every second counts. We don't just survive, we win." Below, Lila Horn's team reached the outskirts of the Draxian siphon, taking advantage of the chaos. The energy pulses of the machine flickered under the humans' interference. The scrambled to defend their weapon, but they were already outmaneuvered. The humans' daring assaults had forced them into reactive chaos, a place no Draxian command protocol could handle. One of the human pilots, Rina Sato, dodged a volley of energy fire, sweat beading on her brow. "Captain, it's working. They're losing control." Elena's voice came over, comes, steady and resolute. "We predicted their moves. We've made them fight on human terms. Keep the pressure, and they will falter completely." The tide of the battle shifted in ways no alien commander could have foreseen. The Draxians' confidence, once unshakable, now wavered. They had expected overwhelming victory. Instead, they faced a species that thought differently, acted boldly, and never yielded to fear. Vrex, observing from his cruiser, growled low. "They are extraordinary. The humans are leading the battle, not following it." Helena's mind raced, plotting the next move. She knew the Draxians would not retreat easily, but with the enemy disoriented, with their numbers mismanaged, the humans could strike decisive blows. Small squads moved in perfect coordination, hitting weak points in the enemy formations. The Alliance fleet followed, emboldened by the humans' daring example. "Captain, the siphon is vulnerable now," Arjun shouted. Elena's heart lifted. "Then we end this. Humanity never quits. Humanity never backs down." The humans pressed the advantage. Draxian ships were disabled, their drones dismantled by precise strikes, and their cruisers were isolated. The once feared swarm had become disorganized and vulnerable, all because humans had dared to fight differently, even as energy blasts painted the sky in deadly colors. There was a moment of clarity for the humans. They were not just surviving, they were shaping the battle. Every decision, every maneuver, Every risk taken had brought them to this turning point. Alina looked over the battlefield, her heart swelling with pride. Humans were underestimated, fragile, and small, but their courage, intelligence, and determination had changed the course of the fight. And for the first time, the aliens of the Alliance saw clearly what she had known all along. Humans were not just survivors. They were leaders, innovators, and a force to be reckoned with. As the Draxians faltered and retreated from their broken formation, Alina whispered to herself, a quiet smile forming, "We may be outnumbered, but we have the plan." And in the chaotic beauty of Zaloris Prime, the humans had proven once again that where others relied on power, humans relied on heart, mind, and courage, and that was enough to turn the tide. The battle over Zalaris Prime had reached a critical point. The Draxian siphon, once humming with deadly energy, now flickered as human interference spread through its systems. But the victory came at a cost. Fires raged across the jagged landscape, and several human ships had been damaged or destroyed. Captain Alina Voss gritted her teeth, knowing that the fight was far from over. Every human pilot, every engineer, every soldier had to give their all if they were to stop the Draxians for good. Lieutenant Arjun Patel's voice came over the comms, tight with urgency. "Captain, the Draxians are regrouping for a counterattack. They're targeting our remaining fleet, and their drones are swarming again." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Then we hit them before they strike. Humans never wait for disaster to find us. We create our own advantage." The humans' daring plan called for a sacrifice. A small team would draw the bulk of the enemy's fire, risking everything to allow the main strike to reach the siphon's core. Lila Horn stepped forward. "Captain, my squad will do it. We know the risk." Alina studied the young pilot, her heart aching at the courage she saw. "You're giving everything for the fleet," she said softly. "Are you sure?" Lila nodded, determination burning in her eyes. "Humans survive when we fight together. We can't win if we all stay safe." Alina took a deep breath. Humans often acted in ways other species could not understand. Small, fragile individuals risking themselves for the greater good. It was reckless and brilliant. "Then do it," Alina said firmly. "Lead them, but come back to us if you can, and trust your instincts." As Lila's squadron dived into the enemy swarm, explosions erupted around them. Red beams tore through the void, but the humans moved with an agility and creativity that the Draxians could not anticipate. Every evasive maneuver was calculated, every strike designed to manipulate the enemy's movements. "Captain, they're drawing the Draxians toward the canyon," Arjun shouted. "The main team can move in." Elena's pulse quickened. "Now, Mika, send the drones to overload the siphon fully." On the engineering deck, Mika Torres worked feverishly. Hundreds of drones streamed forward, blinking with energy as they jammed the siphon's systems. Sparks danced across the machine's surface, and for the first time, the Draxian's weapon faltered. Its pulse weakened, threatening to collapse under human interference. Below, Lila's squadron fought with unmatched courage. One pilot, Rina Sato, dodged a volley of laser fire and shouted over comms, "Captain, we can't hold them much longer." Voice was steady, unwavering. "You've done more than anyone could ask. Keep them busy. The main strike will finish this." The human strategy worked perfectly. The Draxians, distracted by the brave squadron, failed to focus on the humans moving toward the siphon's core. The overload intensified, circuits sparking, and energy surges bouncing off the landscape. For a moment, the planet itself seemed to tremble. Vrex, the Xanther commander, watched from his cruiser, awe and disbelief in his voice. "I cannot believe this. Humans are leading the fight. They are unstoppable." Slith, the Krillian, shimmered with emotion. "Their courage, it is more than logic can explain. They inspire everything around them." Elena's gaze returned to the holographic display. The siphon's core pulsed erratically. If they could destabilize it fully, the Draxians would lose their ultimate weapon. She signaled the strike team to move forward, hearts pounding in unison with the throbbing energy of the machine. Arjun, watching the main human team approach, whispered, "Captain, if they succeed, it will change everything." Alina nodded. "It will. Humans survive because we adapt, because we act when others hesitate. This is our moment." The strike team reached the core chamber. Sparks and energy arcs surrounded them, but they worked with steady hands, connecting improvised devices to destabilize the siphon. Every second was. The shattered remnants of the Draxian fleet limped through the violet clouds of Zolaris Prime. Captain Alina Voss stood on the bridge of the Aurora's edge, her eyes scanning the horizon. The Draxians had retreated, but their command ship, massive and heavily armed, still hung menacingly in orbit. If it escaped, the galaxy would face them again. This was the final opportunity. Humanity would not let them flee. Lieutenant Arjun Patel leaned over the console, worry etched on his face. "Captain, their command ship is shielded with layers we've never seen before. A direct assault would be suicide." Elena's lips pressed together. "Then we don't attack directly. Humans never fight where the enemy expects us. We go around their plan, not into it." From the engineering deck, Mika Torres spoke urgently. "Captain, I've been analyzing their shield patterns. There's a narrow fluctuation window every 37 seconds. If timed perfectly, we could slip through undetected." Elena's eyes sparkled with determination. "That's our opening, Arjun. Coordinate the strike. Lila, Rena, and the remaining squad prepare to lead. We'll use speed, precision, and intelligence, not brute force." The human pilots nodded, hearts pounding. They were small, fragile, and vastly outnumbered, but that was exactly why they were unpredictable. Every alien in the galaxy expected humans to be cautious, slow, or reckless. But humans had a trait no enemy could calculate: ingenuity under pressure. As the Aurora's edge and its small strike fleet approached, the Draxian command ship opened fire. Beams of crimson energy lanced toward them, but the humans moved in ways the enemy could not anticipate, diving, spinning, weaving through orbital debris with uncanny precision. "Captain Shields, at 20%, Arjun shouted, fear and exhilaration mixing in his voice. "Then we make every percent count," Alina replied. "Trust your instincts. Trust each other. That's how humans survive." The strike team darted forward, timing their approach with Mika's calculations. For a fleeting moment, the Draxian sensors flickered, blinded by drones and interference. The humans slipped through the gap like shadows, moving unseen into the heart of the enemy vessel. Inside the command ship, corridors were labyrinthine, walls glowing with alien circuitry. Lila Horn led her squad, silent but tense, hearts racing with every step. They were humans in a world designed to crush them, but they moved with courage, every decision precise, every move anticipating danger. "Captain, we're approaching." "The main reactor," Lila whispered over comes. "Good," Elena's voice responded calmly. "Your goal is to destabilize the ship from within. Precision, timing. Humanity wins by thinking faster than the enemy." Rina Sato approached the core, connecting a series of devices designed to disrupt the reactor's balance. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the hum of alien machinery shifted into chaos. For the first time, the massive Draxian ship faltered, its orbit wobbling as its shields weakened. "Captain, the reactor is unstable," Mika shouted from orbit. "Then we finish," Alina said firmly. "Humans never quit. We act when others hesitate." Outside, the human fleet executed a synchronized attack. Tiny ships darted around the crippled command ship, hitting weak points and disabling weapons. The Draxians, massive and powerful, were unable to respond to the unpredictable, bold assaults of the humans. Every move, every strike, every decision was calculated yet daring. a combination their enemies could never anticipate. The command ship shuddered violently, its massive frame straining against internal chaos. Alina watched with a mixture of awe and pride. Humans were small, fragile, often underestimated, but their determination, intelligence, and courage had brought them here, to the brink of victory. Inside the ship, Leela's squad worked furiously, the reactor's energy surging around them. One mistake could destroy them all. But they trusted each other, just as humans always did, and their coordination was flawless. "Captain, we're ready," Leela said, voice steady, despite the danger. "Initiating the final destabilizer." "Do it," Alina replied, heart pounding. A brilliant surge of light erupted from the command ship's core. Energy arcs danced and flared, the massive vessel trembling as its systems failed. Outside, the humans' fleet watched as the once feared Draxian command ship faltered, powerless against the ingenuity and courage of a species it had dismissed. For centuries, Rex, the Xanther commander, growled in disbelief. "Impossible. Humans have defeated them." Alone, Slith the Krillian shimmered with awe. "They are extraordinary. I do not fully understand them, but they lead." Alina allowed herself a weary but triumphant smile. "We may be fragile, we may be underestimated, but we are human. We adapt, we endure, and we never give up." The Draxian ship, once a terror across the stars, finally collapsed into a controlled crash on Zolaris Prime, neutralized completely. The Alliance fleet cheered, but the humans understood the deeper truth. Victory was not just about firepower. It was about heart, ingenuity, and unbreakable resolve. From the bridge of the Aurora's edge, Alina looked at her crew pilots, engineers, soldiers, all of them exhausted, bruised, yet triumphant. "We faced impossible odds," she said softly, "but we survived. We won not because we were the strongest, but because we were human." In the skies above Zolaris Prime, where violet clouds swirled over jagged mountains and glowing oceans, the humans had turned the impossible into reality. They had outsmarted a powerful enemy, endured betrayal, and faced death with unwavering courage. And as Alina gazed into the stars, she whispered, almost to herself, "Humans may be underestimated, but we are never defeated." The skies above Zolaris Prime were quiet now, painted in soft violet and green light as dawn touched the jagged mountains and molten crystal rivers. The Draxian command ship lay in ruins, a testament to human courage and ingenuity. Yet, the humans aboard the Aurora's edge and their strike teams knew that victory was never complete until every threat was truly neutralized. Captain Alina Voss stood on the bridge, scanning the horizon. Her crew moved with careful efficiency, repairing ships, tending to the wounded, and coordinating with the remaining Alliance vessels. Every face she saw, Arjun, Mika, Leela, Rena, and dozens of others, reflected exhaustion, relief, and pride. Lieutenant Arjun Patel broke the silence, his voice trembling with awe. "Captain, we actually did it. Against every expectation, against impossible odds. We won." Alina nodded, a faint smile crossing her lips. "Humans never wait for the world to hand us victory. We take it, we earn it." Mika Torres, wiping sweat and grime from her brow, chimed in. "And we didn't just survive, we outsmarted them. Every plan, every move. It worked because we refused to accept failure." Leela Horn, standing near the viewport, watched the ruined Draxian fleet drifting harmlessly above the planet. "Captain, I never imagined we could this, but we did it, together." Elena's gaze softened, thinking of every sacrifice. The young pilots who risked everything, the engineers who worked under fire, and the human determination that had carried them through impossible moments. It was more than strategy. It was heart, the defining trait of their species. Even the alien commanders of the Alliance, who had once doubted the humans, were in awe. Rex the Xanther, approached cautiously. I have underestimated your species for centuries, he admitted. Your strength is not in your technology, not in your numbers, but in your will, your courage, your humanity. Slith. The Krillian shimmered softly. We have seen what logic cannot predict. Humans defy expectation. They inspire. Elena allowed herself a moment of quiet pride. Humans were often underestimated, mocked, and overlooked by the galaxy's more advanced species. Yet time and again, they had proved that their greatest weapons were ingenuity, resilience, and unity. Across the planet, small teams were stabilizing the remains of the Draxian siphon. Energy surges faded, and Zaloris Prime's ecosystem, though battered, began to breathe again. The humans worked not just to win the battle, but to protect life itself. A concept alien species often failed to prioritize. Lila Horn's squad returned to the fleet, battered but triumphant. She met Elena, gave a smile of exhaustion and pride shared between them. We did it, Captain. We really did it. Elena nodded, feeling a surge of emotion she could not fully describe. Yes, because we never quit. Because humans fight not only for themselves, but for each other, for something greater. Even as the Alliance fleet began to stabilize and reorganize, word of humanity's triumph spread quickly across the galaxy. Aliens whispered of a species that refused to bend, that thrived under impossible pressure, and that turned disadvantage into victory. Arjun, standing beside Elena, said quietly, "Do you think they'll ever stop underestimating us?" Elena smiled softly, eyes still on the horizon where stars began to glimmer. Let them underestimate us. Humans always have a way of proving that no expectation can contain us. In the quiet moments, the human crew reflected on what had truly made the difference. Not weapons, not numbers, not speed or technology. It was the human heart, the stubborn will to survive, the clever mind that could outthink enemies, and the courage to act when every instinct screamed danger. Mika leaned against the railing, her voice quiet. We were so small against them, yet we changed the outcome of this entire war. Elena nodded. That is who we are. Humanity doesn't just survive. Humanity adapts, endures, and triumphs. Against impossible odds, against betrayal, against fear we rise. The crew shared a moment of unity, feeling the weight of what they had